You know what
Backpacking America
is, right?
It's fucking awesome.
It's Backpacking America, an analytical podcast. Moving out? Moving in? Apartment or home in need of detailing? Call Innate Deep Cleaning Services at 845-243-7709 for some of the best home detailing you could ever ask for. Once again, that is 845-243-7709. All right, we are back. Sorry, everyone, getting used to this new setup here. Had to redo the episode a little bit. Gotta love it. Anyway, this one is called The Soft Bigotry of Low Expectations. So basically, during the pandemic, Oregon Governor Kate Brown passed SB 744, which basically waived the reading, writing, and arithmetic requirement of Oregon high school students. There were two main reasons for it. The first was to give Oregon students and the education community a chance to regroup after a year and a half of the disruption caused by the pandemic. That was said by Chris Boyle, who's a spokesman for the governor. However, Charles Boyle, excuse me. However, Charles Boyle goes on to say that backers also stated that no, Boyle did say that. Sorry. Getting all confused. A little hyped up today. Boyle said the new standards for graduation would aid Oregon's Black, Latino, Latinx, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, tribal, and students of color. I'd first like to say that I think students of color, people of color, is the same as saying colored people. Just say like non-white population. But then again, I guess who really cares because everything's racist now. I don't even know what's going on anymore in this world. But basically, I feel that this... I have two issues with this, with the first and the second. The first, giving students in the education community a chance to regroup. There is no regrouping. You're only just harming people by not forcing them to be proficient in reading, writing, and arithmetic. If my college, and I do, production work. So if I'm able to complete my education that normally would need supervision and a college environment to use their equipment and the resources to make projects, and I was still able to complete my senior seminar, and my local high school was still able to show proficiency in reading, writing, and arithmetic, and have the basics of understanding how to function, and the same for the Oneonta Public School District, even though, the public schools were meeting the bare minimum of educating students, they still met the bare minimum. They still have some form of understanding of reading, writing, and arithmetic. Just saying, forget it. No one needs math or any of that stuff. Just you showed up, you passed, move on with your lives. No, that's not how this works. Like, you need to not give up on these kids. I get cutting them a break. I got a break in college. We had the option of doing pass-fail for a semester. There's also, certain I think public schools in Oneonta allowed a pass-fail system. I don't really recall correctly. Don't quote me on it. But, pass-fail was definitely allowed in my college. The second thing, though, the main focus of this is the soft bigotry of low expectations, as per the title of the episode. So when he says that lowering standards for students that don't test well, such as not having standards at all, and calling it unfair challenge to students who don't test well, and then saying that anyone that's not white doesn't test well, is actually pretty racist. First off, I don't see a statistic here in this article showing that, that student group doesn't test well in Oregon. There's no statistic. As far as I could see, it goes on to say the requirement for students to demonstrate proficiency in essential subjects on freshman to sophomore skill level was terminated. Yeah, so I don't really see a statistic showing that backs up what Charles Boyle is saying. If anything, it's what like we're not looking into what's causing these supposed unfair challenges. Is it poverty? Is it inequity, food inequity? Is it, no access to food at all? Is it child abuse? Is it drug addiction? Is it uh, behavioral problems? Is there mental problems? Is it social alienation? There's so many social and economic factors that could contribute to a student not doing well in school, and it's up to the school and the government to help ensure that even though they have these roadblocks in front of them, they have the resources to overcome them and the encouragement to overcome them and to meet the standards set by the state to be proficient in understanding reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, for example, I have a learning disability with math. I have dyscalculia. Uh, I went to extra help every day after school. So I had like almost, I don't know, like 80 minutes of math a day, whereas the average kid got 40. And I worked my butt off and I just barely passed all my regents. And that's how I graduated high school. I did the bare minimum of math, but I showed basic proficiency, which is just understanding, I guess, kind of how math works. And that was it. I wasn't an A student with math. Everything else I was. But with math, I was like borderline failing. So, I understand, the challenges of academia. For example, I was also put in like special ed math classes. So I understand that academic struggles suck, but to just get rid of the bar for the standard is not doing anyone any favors. Getting rid of writing proficiency and reading, I mean, that's devastating for these kids. That's setting back the black community and the Latino community even more by saying, oh, yeah, you guys are just challenged with reading and writing, so you don't have to do well in it. You could just pass and get your diploma. That's not helping them. That's not helping that community. Black people in this country fought for the right to read and the right to get an education and the right to understand how to write English. They did that in secret during slavery. They fought for that right to be educated. And now you're saying, oh, well, you don't need to do that. That's bigotry. Like, you're being a bigot. You're denying these kids that are supposedly underserved the education they need to get out of that position that makes them underserved. Without an education, you now set them back even further from getting out of that position where they may be hungry, they may be in a poor economic situation, they may have, influences around them that will lead them to drug abuse or violence. Like, without an education, you can't think critically. Without reading, without having a proficient reading level, you can't read works that are critically challenging to the mind and spark philosophical thought. Without thoughts, how are you supposed to question what's going on in your environment and what's going on around you and within you? How are you supposed to do that and understand that? That's key to understanding how to move forward, to learn education, to learn skills. Without that, how can you go get a trade? How can you go get, a white-collar job? You're basically damning these kids to anything beyond service labor or non-union construction work or something. And even then, you need math to understand how to build shit. You need math to understand how to be an electrician. You need math in order to be a welder. You need to read to do all of those things, absolutely. And you need to write to do everything. I mean, you need to write to, not teaching these kids how to be proficient in writing. They can't advocate for themselves. They can't write their congressperson, their governor, their senator. They can't write their local business. They can't, create business plans. A lot of people want to push. There's a big push in the black community, rightfully so, to be, okay, well, let's build black capitalism. I don't agree with black capitalism, but it's an understandable trend. So it's like, okay, we want to be self-sufficient. So let's, build up wealth. Let's build up wealth. There's nothing wrong with that. By the way, when I say I don't agree with black capitalism, I mean, like, I just don't think that, like, capitalism is the solution to everything. It's more just like, we're here and this is what we need to do to survive. Everyone knows that I think the end goal should be socialism. That's just a standpoint. If you listen to all my other episodes, I explain more in depth about that and Fred Hampton's viewpoint on black capitalism as the solution. So that's basically my defense right now. Okay, we're getting back to it. So anyway, how are you supposed to run a business, right? So like, how are you supposed to run a business if you don't like know how to read? If you don't know how to write, you need to write a business report. You need to write down your expenses. You need basic math skills to have like a spreadsheet and do addition and division and subtraction, you know, in your books. How are you supposed to file your own taxes? How are you supposed to read the fine print of tax return forms or W-2s or 1099s? How are you supposed to understand that? By getting rid of those requirements, it is absolutely screwing these kids over. It is not helping them. Instead, what it's saying is, oh, like, we're not discriminating against you. We're giving you a diploma. You're qualified. But what it's doing is it's in practice, in real life, not on paper, in real life, it's making them underprepared and less employable and less possible to break out of, poverty by making a business. So what they're ending up doing is handicapping these kids even more based on their race because they're like, oh, statistically, you're a failure. That's the soft bigotry of low expectations, and that's a huge problem. I saw this being passed around for a very, very long time. You know, like this was being debated for a long time, even during the pandemic. Oh, should we just waive all the requirements? And no, it's going to be terrible for the country because the pandemic will end, but the country most likely won't. So now you're going to have all these doctors, lawyers, tradesmen, you name it, going, just graduating out of high school or college, and they're going to be underprepared already, even though, most of the counties had their school systems intact. But what Oregon is doing is going a step further in handicapping their students in the name of social justice and community protection. It's really just damning people to servitude again. And like I said, I don't think capitalism of any type is a solution to problems. But if we are in a capitalist system, I'd rather run a business or at least be self employed than be employed and subject to someone else's wishes. So it's kind of like you're not even giving these kids the choice to choose. Like, if like America's supposed to be, we have the land of opportunity to do whatever you want and to build whatever you want and be whatever you want. You're taking that away from these kids. So if our country's supposedly this land of free opportunity and enterprise, but yet you're getting rid of the basic educational skills that are guaranteed to these kids, you're handicapping them. So I honestly am surprised that Governor Brown has not been impeached yet, as that's just I feel like that's a grave violation of the students' rights, and a grave violation of students' well-being. I definitely am terrified by this, and I hope it's a trend that does not catch on, because just saying that, oh, non-white people are, they're already struggling anyway, so let's just remove the barriers for them and just give them a walk, right out of college or high school because, they just have a hard time. That's so sinister. That's not doing anyone any favors, and it doesn't create a self-sufficient population. Because at the end of the day, we're still in a human society. We need to grow food, have clean water, shelter, and the ability to secure that society and continue its maintenance. If we have people that don't know how to continue that maintenance and don't have the skills mentally or physically to do that, and you're purposely handicapping a segment of the population, you're damning the country's national security. That's against national. That's like traitorous to be against the basic education and to purposely handicap it. I think that's traitorous behavior. Thank you once again, everyone, for listening to another episode of Backpacking America. I'm also gonna have a very special guest, hopefully tomorrow night. I'm also a life update. So I have better hours at work now. I'm going to be working 12 p.m. to 7 p.m., so I'm going to be doing midday shows, which is pretty cool as a producer, and no more morning shows. So I'll be able to be recording like every single night, or at least for the most part. It's going to be a lot more frequent, and we got a lot of cool stuff planned for you already with the visual end of it. Like, this is going to get a little more cooler. So thank you again so much for your support. We also hit 1,500 monthly downloads. Let's try to hit 2,500 by the end of this month. So by May, let's try to get those 2,500. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you like, share, comment, spread this everywhere like wildfire. And help your boy out. And make sure to cop a Backpacking America t-shirt. It's summertime, so hoodies are kind of out of season, unfortunately, but you can cop a really cool Backpacking America t-shirt, and you will not regret it. Thanks again, everyone, and until next time. How do I do this? Bingo.
You know what?
Oh, no, wrong one. If you want more Backpacking America content, make sure to follow the social links in the podcast description. New episodes starting and ending your work week come out every Friday and Monday. Thank you again for listening, and stay breezy.